Welcome along, everybody. Just a reminder that I've got a bombshell exclusive relating to Prevent at 10 p.m. tonight. But before that, Donald Trump deports illegal immigrants. Keir Starmer lets them bring their relatives over, and a local council makes taxpayers pay for their driving lessons. Trump is ramping up deportations.
Immediately halted all entry of illegal border crossers, of which there were many, and began promptly returning the illegal trespassers back to the place from which they came. That action, as you've probably seen, has already started very strongly. Have deployed active duty U.S. military and National Guard troops to the border to assist in repelling the invasion.
So last night, Colombia refused to take loads of illegals. What did Trump do? Well, he hit them hard, didn't he? He threatened to cripple Colombia with trade tariffs. He threatened their diplomats. He threatened financial sanctions. He used leverage. Less than an hour later, this happened. Colombia caved in. They accepted Trump's deportation flights and even offered to send the presidential plane to help fly them over. Power. The Brazilian government was angry that their illegal immigrants were brought home in handcuffs. Oh, were the Brazilians very angry? That's a shame.
Oh dear, outside, never mind.
Indeed. Mexico has apparently received some non-Mexicans. Well, hey, now they know how America feels, receiving millions of non-Americans. Vice President J.D. Vance made mincemeat out of a crybaby reporter who was banging on about how America should be taking more Afghan refugees.
Know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember.
And that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
They do. They do. That's leadership, though, isn't it? So let's come back to Britain. Pakistani rape gangs. Hundreds of depraved Pakistani monsters on Britain's streets raping and torturing young white girls. Even loads of the so-called British ones tend to have dual passports. Why aren't we threatening Pakistan with sanctions? The removal of all visas, the removal of their embassy, unless they take back their rapist animals. Get them gone. Jamaica. A Jamaican rapist in Britain can't be deported because apparently he might be bisexual, despite there not being any evidence of him being bisexual. And in Jamaica, he might face some abuse. Well, we've got thousands of Jamaican criminals here in Britain. Threaten Jamaica with sanctions until they say, OK, we'll take them back. Syria. There's a new regime now. Weren't people celebrating? Right then, well, we took loads of Syrian asylum seekers, didn't we? And we've given millions to Syria since the fall of Assad. Well, why don't we just withhold it until they agree to take their people back? Any strong government would be doing this. But Starmer and Cooper, they don't seem to be trying, do they? Instead, we've got the relatives of asylum seekers coming to Britain to the tune of 50 people a day. That's 1,500 people a month. I mean, let's be honest, they're not working, are they? They're almost definitely going to be claiming benefits. Oh, but if they end up in Banbury, in Oxfordshire, well, the council might give them a £1,000 grant so they can learn how to drive. Oh, it's a touch, isn't it? We can't go on like this. We can't. We are looking at the solution. We are looking at it. The solution is what they're doing in America. They've got this.
Some migrants are already choosing to leave the country voluntarily.
And we have got this.
The previous government, they wanted to deport us, but now they make the procedure easier for us.
So you like the Labour government? Yes. Okay.
Great. And hey, look, all of that being said, if you're still on the fence as to whether or not Trump is doing the right thing, and we're not, well, here is the insufferable Marsh family. I watched that earlier and now you had to. Right, let's get the thoughts of my panel. It's Daily Express columnist Carol Malone. We've got journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth and the former chairman of the Tory party, Sir Jake Berry. Carol, look, Trump's deporting people, he doesn't care what anyone thinks about it, and he's slapping sanctions on people who refuse to take them. Why can't we do the same with Pakistan over their rape gangs?
Well, it's really simple, because we've got a Prime Minister called Keir Starmer who's sticking his head ostrich-like in the sand over immigration and just pretending it doesn't exist. And if you just looked across the water to Europe and he saw what was happening in Europe and what happens to leaders who do what he's doing, ignore the problem. You know, you've got Germany. It's just about to fall to a far-right government. You've got Austria, who's got its first hard-right government since the war. We've got Italy, where Giorgia Meloni now, she's right-wing. This is what happens. People go to the right when you have this kind of sloppiness here. You know, you said it on your thing there, but we're never going to do it here. We saw today those two perfect examples. Two men, the drug dealer, the Jamaican drug dealer, convicted 5 times of dealing crack cocaine and heroin in this country, and yet the ECHR says you can't go because his daughter may or may not be trans. You've got the other bloke, the Albanian guy, who we can't get rid of him because his wife's children by another man need him. So, you know, this is just outrageous. And people are sick to the back teeth now. And this government, to not understand how they feel, just shows how out of touch they are.
But, Jake, why didn't your government, the Tories, use the kind of leverage that Trump's doing? Why weren't we pressuring Pakistan? Why weren't we pressuring Jamaica? Why weren't we pressuring Iraq and all of these places to go and take back their criminals? Use leverage, economic might.
Well, I think the first thing to say is the Conservatives did fail in the way that Keir Starmer has done. There's no point running away from that. We have become a weak country, and we've become a weak country because we're overburdened by things like the Human Rights Act, we're overburdened by excessive compliance to the European Convention on Human Rights. And every single day when I wake up and turn the radio on or turn the TV on, Trump is just doing something brilliant that puts the people who voted for him, the American people, first. And we haven't had that in Britain since Margaret Thatcher, frankly. And we've had weak governments after weak government. And if you look at the polling, actually, some brilliant polling over the weekend, very interesting. It showed that all the things Trump's doing, whether that's deporting illegal immigrants who he describes as trespassers in the United States, looking at protecting American jobs, looking really at what we call the American First policy, in every single poll that's published over the weekend, 58, 59, 60% of British people say we want that here in the UK. The time is long overdue. We need it to see that sort of strength in Britain.
Why could there be any pushback in Britain, seriously, Benjamin, if we said we're suspending all aid, we're going to suspend visas from Pakistan unless they take back any dual national or just singularly Pakistani citizen who's been involved in the rape gang epidemic?
Well, first of all, it's good to hear the arsonist reflecting so profoundly on the fires that he let spread for so many years. I'd take that with a pinch of salt. Now, let's look at the facts here. This suggestion of doing some kind of tariff war, which was the tactic Trump put in place, would be incredibly counterintuitive and stupid. Tariffs are a tax on ordinary people, on ordinary products. And if we start doing that, if the US starts widely doing that, and we're not exempt from them using that kind of behaviour, then we all are in a mess. That is really not a helpful tactic. Everyone paying more for basic goods does not make us better. But the suggestion that Jake just made about Trump doing stuff that wasn't done before, well, the highest number of deportations in a decade was in the last year under Joe Biden.
Because there's an election coming. That's why.
Barack Obama deported more people in his 2 terms.
But why shouldn't we be
Trump's
doing that here? I want to make it about Britain. With solution is what they're doing over there right now. Why aren't we doing it?
What I'm pointing out is that Trump is excellent at getting the world to pay attention to what he's saying, but he deported less people than Barack Obama and less people than Joe Biden.
But he'd be deporting more now. The thing is, now he is doing...
But he had 4 years of saying it last time and he didn't do it.
Excuse me, in 1 week he has changed laws in America to make it easier to hang on to migrants, to detain them. He's done more in a week than most... can I just finish? More in a week than most PMs have done in a lifetime. And the thing is...
But he hasn't.
Yes, he has.
He has got more attention than most PMs.
Well, he's just done it. He just deported 88 migrants today on 2 military planes.
Barack Obama did 1.1 million.
Well, he was in power for 8 years.
And he did less than any Democratic president in the last 20 years.
But the bottom line here is you have to...
Nonsense.
You have to have a will to do something. And there is not a will in this country to deport criminals. And that is foreign criminals. And that is the problem. Starmer doesn't have the will. And even if he had the will, the rest of his government will.
Look, what you've heard from Benjamin is just the declinism of the left in Great Britain. It's, you know, they know all the problems, but only the solution. Benjamin says it'd be terrible if he brought tariffs in. Well, he didn't have to. did he?
Exactly.
He didn't do it because he was strong. He stood up. He put America first. He put the American people first. And that's exactly why he doesn't have to introduce tariffs, because he used the muscle of America to get what the American people want. And I don't know about GB News viewers, but I am absolutely fed up to the back teeth of the 20 years we've had of this declinism. Britain is weak. Britain should just take her orders from elsewhere. Britain should comply with foreign laws. No, but your whole attitude is, we can't do anything about it. Of course we can.
In this country,
why shouldn't we deport people?
Deportations are up since the election. There have been more deportation flights since July.
Labour keeps saying this. Have we ever seen any paperwork, any stats from anyone that proves that?
Can I just,
16,000, they say.
Can I just put out? No, who is the Home Secretary in British history, all of British history, who let more people in this country? Suella Braverman. She let more people into this country than anyone in British history. And so we shouldn't take lectures from people that are keen to sit in front of TV cameras, but they don't do anything behind the scenes. It's the reality. They want to inflame tensions, but they don't actually do the job of kicking people out.
Do you acknowledge, Benjamin, that surely we have more leverage over countries like Pakistan and Jamaica?
Of course we do.
Well, we've illustrated that with Albania, where actually it was successful.
So why don't we do it then?
Well,
why don't we actually
I think the question of visas. The question of visas is the legitimate one. That is a good tactic. The question of tariffs is one that would hurt regular people.
We are hosing. We're hosing.
To do it, and also he heard all the rhetoric today, Trump, about from the president of Colombia saying it's inhuman treatment. They haven't been able to sit on the plane. They're in handcuffs. He just said, sod that. Not interested. Get them there.
And all of this,
that's what we need.
And all of these countries that we're talking about, we are hosing literally tens of millions of pounds of UK taxpayers' cash into them. Yeah. We're giving more to supporting farmers in the rest of the world than we're giving to our own farmers now, frankly. We're hosing tens of millions of pounds. We should say, look, if you won't take them back, you don't get any British taxpayers' cash, because we're going to spend it on housing the people you should be housing.
We give them money in foreign aid, and then whenever they have a natural disaster, we give them more money again. We've got our foreign secretary jetting off to Sudan saying we mustn't forget Sudan. Well, David, let me tell you, it's rarely off my mind. It's rarely off my mind when I go outside and the bins haven't been collected and the piles haven't been filled in and the hotel down the road is full of illegal immigrants and some of them may or may not be taking pictures of schoolgirls outside the school gates, a topic we're coming on to later. Let me tell you, David, Sudan is rarely off my mind. But anyway, thank you very much, everybody. Lovely start.